A couple of months ago, I came across an article from Harvard Business Review from 1964 titled The Practice of Management. This article got me thinking about how the practice of management has improved since then, and so today, let's talk about it. So this article was written by a man called Peter Drucker, who many consider to be the father of modern management. In this article, he talks about how managers can improve the performance of their businesses. And even though this article is almost 60 years old, the ideas he shares are still very relevant today. Now, in the introduction of the book, he says that there is no one best way to manage an enterprise. He further goes on to say that while every piece of managerial advice must be adapted to the specific circumstances of its use, there are a few basic principles which are almost universally applicable. And so what we have here is a list of these basic principles for effective management. Let's take a look at them. So the first point he makes is that if you want to improve the effectiveness of your management, you need to focus on where you spend your time. And you probably think this is obvious, but when you read some of the research on how managers spend their time, it's actually not that obvious at all. Research shows that managers spend a disproportionate amount of their time dealing with urgent matters, rather than focusing on important issues that will help the business grow. And so Drucker's advice is still very relevant in today's world. If you want to improve the effectiveness of your management, make sure you focus on where you spend your time. Make sure you spend time on important issues that will help your organization grow, not just dealing with day-to-day matters. Second point he makes is that you should always strive to understand your strengths and weaknesses as a manager. You see, every manager has strengths and weaknesses, but most managers don't know what theirs are. The reason for this is simple. When you are good at something, you feel confident, and so you do more of it. However, when you are bad at something, you lack confidence, and so you try to avoid it. So what ends up happening is that most managers end up doing more of the things they are good at and less of the things they are bad at. And guess what? They end up becoming even better at the things they are already good at and even worse at the things they are already bad at. And so Drucker's advice is to identify your strengths and weaknesses as a manager and then focus on improving your weaknesses. Don't just do more of the things you're good at. Take some time and effort to also focus on improving the areas you currently lack in. Third point he makes is that, as a manager, you need to always make sure that you have enough time to reflect on your work. Most people think that good managers are busy people. The busier the manager, the better they must be. But in reality, it's quite the opposite. Some of the best managers are the ones who have enough time to sit back and reflect on their work. You see, when you're busy doing work, it's hard to take a step back and reflect on what you're doing. It's hard to think clearly and objectively about your work when you're knee-deep in it. But if you can find some time to step back and reflect on your work, you'll be able to think more clearly and make better decisions. And so, Drucker's advice is to always make sure you have enough time to reflect on your work. Take some time out of your busy schedule to sit back and think about what you're doing. You'll be glad you did. Fourth point he makes is that good managers always make sure that they get feedback on their work. We often think that we are doing a good job, but in reality, we are not. We often think that our strengths are actually weaknesses, and our weaknesses are actually strengths. And so it's important to get feedback from others who can provide an objective perspective on our work. In fact, this is one of the main reasons why companies hire external consultants. Consultants are able to provide an objective perspective on a company's operations that management may not be able to see. And so Drucker's advice is to always make sure that you get feedback on your work. Ask your peers, your boss, your team members, or even your customers for feedback on your work. Be open to the feedback you receive and use it to improve. Fifth point he makes is that good managers always make sure that they learn from their mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but most people don't learn from their mistakes. They repeat the same mistakes over and over again. And so Drucker's advice is to always make sure that you learn from your mistakes. When you make a mistake, take some time to reflect on what happened. Ask yourself why you made the mistake and what you could do differently next time to avoid making the same mistake again. This is one of the best ways to improve as a manager. Learning from your mistakes will make you a better manager. Sixth point he makes is that good managers always make sure that they have a plan for dealing with unexpected events. Unexpected events happen all the time. They can be good or bad, but the key thing is to always be prepared for them. A good manager will have a plan in place for dealing with unexpected events so that they can minimize the impact on the organization. For example, a good manager will have a plan in place for dealing with a sudden increase in workload or a sudden decrease in resources. And so, Drucker's advice is to always make sure that you have a plan in place for dealing with unexpected events. No matter what happens, you'll be prepared and your organization will be in good hands. The seventh point he makes is that good managers always make sure that they keep learning. The world is constantly changing and evolving. New technologies emerge, new trends emerge, and new challenges emerge. And so it's important for managers to keep learning new things in order to stay ahead of the curve. A good manager will make time in their busy schedule to keep learning new things. They will read books, they will attend seminars, and they will talk to experts in their field. And so, Drucker's advice is to always make sure that you keep learning. Never stop learning. And finally, the eighth point he makes is that good managers always make sure that they take care of themselves. Taking care of yourself is essential for being a good manager. If you're not healthy, if you're not happy, and if you're not well rested, you won't be able to perform at your best. And so it's important to always make sure that you take care of yourself. Eat healthy, exercise regularly, and get enough sleep. So those are the 8 points Drucker makes in this article. Now I'd like to hear from you. What do you think? How has the practice of management improved since 1964? Let me know in the comments below. So in this video, we talked about how the practice of management has evolved over the years. But have you ever wondered how the practice of entrepreneurship has evolved over the years? If you're interested in learning more about how the practice of entrepreneurship has changed over the years, you should definitely check out this video. I discuss 7 ways entrepreneurship has changed in the last 20 years, and you can watch it right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.